What those 5 feet could do, has anybody seen my gal?
David, it's 7:45. Time you were up. I opened my eyes and looked at the rain beating at the window. I could hear the metal clothesline beating against the back kitchen wall. Another cold January morning. But no school. Today I was going to Wales. Tomorrow I was going to see my first rugby international, Wales against France at Cardiff Arms Park. I tossed the grey blankets off, and sitting on the edge of the bed, pulled my vest shirt and pullover over my head, pulled on my best long trousers that I had draped over a chair the previous night, slipped on my grey socks, and padded down the cold lino-covered stairs. When I pushed open the living room door, I could see my father, already dressed in his second-best suit trousers, bright white shirt and club tie of no recognisable club, sitting in his favourite chair by the Cornish range. His freshly cleaned shoes were shining as brightly as his scrubbed and shaved bronze face. He looked strangely uncomfortable out of his working clothes. He was smoking a Woodbine, his thumb underneath and 4 fingers covering the top of the cigarette. There was an opened, half-packed blue cardboard suitcase on the floor in the middle of the room. This is the BBC Light programme. The time is 7:50. Time for Lift Up Your Hearts. My heart sank. Some boring vicar talking for 10 minutes, followed by an hour of Jimmy Shand and his accordion band, or Sid Phillips and his Dixieland Orchestra with Sid Phillips on clarinet. It was always the most boring time on the wireless. You'd think that they would want to send people off to work, or even worse, to school, with something less boring than interminable Scottish jigs or horrible jazzy stuff. "The train goes at 9:15. My father's deep Welsh baritone voice boomed at me. "Eh? Oh, did you ever see a dream walk in? I said the train goes in half an hour. And the guard won't hold the train up for your mother this time." "Oh, don't exaggerate, Trevor," shouted my mother from the back kitchen. "Have I ever missed the train yet?" "Only because the guard holds the bloody train up for her every time, but he told me yesterday he can't do it any more. He said it's more than his job is worth holding the train up every time for your mother. He can't do it any more, he told me," my father lied. "And she haven't finished the packing yet." His lips tightened as he slowly shook his head. "Oh, don't make an issue of things, Trevor. Your father always makes an issue of things." Going out to the back kitchen, I saw my mother cleaning her teeth on tiptoe at the kitchen sink. I could see the pink Gibbs dentifrice spreading around her mouth. "All right, love?" She was dressed in a skin-tone petticoat with broidery anglaise trimmings around the top and hem. The back of it was caught in her knickers, and I could see her nylons just rolled up to above the petticoat. Her hair was in paper rollers, and she wore no makeup. I watched her brushing, her left arm, as usual, moving in time with the right arm doing the brushing, and all her body was moving, breasts one way, bum the other. 4'2" and eyes of blue, my father used to say. "It's 8:15, Bina." "That clock's 10 minutes fast. I'm almost ready. Don't fuss." She raised her eyes to the ceiling as she pushed past me and ran barefoot out into the backyard to the lavatory. I walked into the living room. My father was in exactly the same place, smoking another cigarette. "Get dressed as quick as you can, Di. You'll come down the station with me. Perhaps that'll hurry her up. I won't be able to lift my head up if she's late again, and I don't know who's the guard on this train." "I haven't had breakfast yet." "Oh, do, we'll never get to Wales at this rate. Make yourself some bread and milk or something, man." I returned to the kitchen and took a loaf of white bread from the kitchen cabinet, cut a doorstep of a slice, cubed it, and placed it in a blue and white striped bowl that had a hairline crack along the bottom. I sat down at the kitchen table, spooned 3 spoonfuls of sugar onto the bread, poured milk over it, and started to eat. The back kitchen door opened, and the wind and the rain and my mother flew in. She grabbed the towel from off the chair and started wiping her wet shoulders. "Dew, there's weather. I bet it'll snow in Wales." "I hope so," I said. "Oh, good, you've made yourself some breakfast." "Just finished the packing now and we're all set." "What about this packing, Bina? Time's getting on." My father had now put on his jacket. "Well, just put a few things in now and we're there." "Why you need this much, I don't know. A weekend we're going for, not a fortnight." "Put your shoes on, love, and comb your hair. Crows would fly a mile to shit in that." She giggled. My mother used to say that. Oh, she had a wicked tongue, my mother. "And put an extra pullover on, love. It'll be freezing in Wales. I wouldn't be surprised if they got snow." "Your new gabardine Mac's in our wardrobe. Put your skates on, love. Your dad's getting edgy." She grabbed a pile of ironing on the kitchen table, went into the living room and placed it on top of the suitcase. My father came in from upstairs wearing a herringbone overcoat and a peaked cap. "Here's your Mac, Di. Get your skates on now, or we're going to miss that train. I don't want the guard holding up the train this time." My mother sighed and buckled down the suitcase. "There, that's that done. You two go on. I've just got to make a few sandwiches for the train, get dressed, and put a bit of makeup on. I don't know why you're fussing. It's 5:20 now." He bent down to pick up the suitcase. "Bloody hell, there's enough to feed a bloody army in ya." My mother buttoned up my Mac, licked her fingers and smoothed them over my hair, then pushed us both out the door. "I'll be 5 minutes now. Got your comics to read, Dave?" "Oh, no. I'll bring them down with me. 5 minutes now, Trevor." My father and I entered the booking hall of the station. People were queuing at the cubbyhole for tickets. "At least we don't have to queue. Not with a free pass, that's something." We descended the stairs to the main station. The train was standing at platform 1, steam was gushing out of its funnel. The guard was waiting for us at the bottom of the stairs. His blue uniform with the red edging looked shiny and worn, and his peaked cap was a little too big for him. "Hello, Trevor. Going on holiday?" "Oh, hello, Sid. No, up to Wales for the weekend for the rugby." "Who's playing?" "Wales and France." "Oh, bloody foregone conclusion. The only way you can beat they Welsh is to nail 'em to the bloody pitch." They both laughed. The guard punched me on the shoulder. "You, boy, got your passport, have you?" "What?" "We got to have a passport for Wales." "Go on, I'll let you off this time." "Where's the missus, Trevor?" "Oh, don't ask, Sid, don't ask. She's the bane of my life, I tell you. The bane of my life." My father picked up the heavy suitcase and walked down the platform. "Open that door, Di," he said when we were halfway down the platform, "and go down about 3 compartments so that we're not on the wheels." I slid open the compartment door and sat in the corner seat facing the engine. "I expect your mother will want to sit there." My father gathered the suitcase into his arms and shoved it onto the rack above my head. It looked precariously balanced. "That's not going to fall on my head, is it?" "No, it'll be all right." He sat in the corner seat opposite me, took a packet of Woodbines from his jacket pocket, took out a cigarette, tapped both ends on the packet and placed it in his mouth. He struck a match from a Bryant and May matchbox, replacing the used match in the box, and lit his cigarette. "Just once I'd like her to be on time. Just once. It's not a lot to ask." I stared at the picture frames above my father's head. "Welcome to Weston-super-Mare," the picture shouted, and a tall, elegant lady was smiling out of the frame and leading an equally elegant dog. "Well, she's got 3 minutes, and Sid is well known for whistling up on time." I went into the corridor of the train and pulled down the window, knotting it 3/4 of the way down by the holed leather belt that slid between the window and its frame. I looked up the platform. I could see Sid the guard standing at the end of the platform, a red flag in his right hand and a green one tucked under his arm. A carriage cleaner was closing the last door of the train. There was no sign of my mother. Sid took a fob watch from his waistcoat pocket, looked at it, and put a whistle to his mouth. I leaned farther out of the window. There she was! There, at the top of the station stairs, I saw her. "I'm here, Sid!" I heard her cry. As she rushed past Sid, running beneath his raised arm without ducking, her coat flying open behind her, my heart leapt, and I laughed out loud to see her toddling down the platform. Other women strutted or strolled or waddled. My mother toddled. "She's here!" I turned to look at my father, sitting in the compartment in stony silence. His lips pursed, and he raised his head to the ceiling. Oh, give us a hand, Dave. Take this bag, love." She climbed into the train and swept into the compartment, leaving a smell of Californian poppies and a trail of handkerchiefs and a bag of apples behind her. "Oh, do. Sid put the red flag under his arm, waved the green one, and blew a sharp blast on his whistle. The engine replied with a hoot, and the train slowly began its steamy journey out of the station. "There you are. Plenty of time. All right, love?" She smiled at me, and I started to laugh. We were off, out of Mounts Bay, out of Cornwall, and in 8 hours' time we would arrive in the foreign country called Wales.